Welcome to my podcast, Shaping Your Journey. My guest in this episode is Eddie Tuduri, drummer who worked with many great artists such as the Beach Boys in Los Angeles and many others before he founded his own very special project called the Rhythmic Arts Project. Here is Eddie Tuduri. Eddie, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast, Shaping Your Journey. Before we get into the discussion or the conversation, tell us a little bit where you started as a drummer, where the sparks first flew for you.
In grammar school, really. I think it was fourth or fifth grade when the music teacher came around and we wanted to sign up, and my friend Ronnie and I I wanted to play trumpet. I liked Louis Armstrong, and he wanted to play drums, and he won the toss. So I ended up playing drums. It was the toss of a coin. That was it. I started taking lessons, and my parents were very supportive of it. So my dad went with me to lessons every week. And, I really took to it. At 12 years old, I did my first gig.
Wow.
Dad took me and had to help me set up and all that, but yeah, it's been a life. It's been a life.
And
No matter what's happened to me, I continue to play.
Yeah, but you were on the East Coast at that point, right?
I was on the East Coast until I was 21 and worked here and played here. Actually ended up in California with a band that was on the road. We went out to a couple of Eastern states first. That's a long story. And we ended up kind of running out to California, And
It was
ended
like
up there.
go wild, go west, young man idea, right?
Yes. Yeah, it was more like run away and go west. But it was a great trip. And when you're 20 or 21 years old, you're just indestructible,
Yes.
So everything is okay. It was freezing. We were driving across the country in middle of winter with a broken window and me and the guitar player and a bass drum between us, and but it was fun. I don't look back at that and think about how cold it was. I just think what a wild and crazy, incredible trip.
Right. Yeah.
Coming out here with no money, no blowing tires, and we had the whole instruments in the back of the van, and oh boy, I'm sure all of us have a similar story, and they're all unique, but they're all the same.
Yeah, it was the same mission, but different characters.
Right, a different automobile or different.
I remember it well. Yeah.
Transportation.
Oh, those crazy. I mean, and if you didn't do that, you wouldn't be the person you are today, because when you think back, you say, that was crazy. But at the moment, it was the thing to do because it was liberating. It was creative. You were doing no damage. And it was like, what an experience that is. And you're bringing joy to people when you play to people, finally, when you get to the gig, right?
Mm.
It was, and playing together. Playing music was probably the fuel that just kept you going, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And to get, I think I'm sure you'll agree, when you put yourself in the midst of people that are, in my eyes, at that age, were 100 times better. I would never be that good, ever. And I was challenged that when we got to California, everywhere I looked, there were drummers and percussionists and players on every instrument that were just amazing. I was jaw dropping, and I thought, geez, do I really want to open a shoe store? I don't think so. So I studied really hard. I got in the garage, and my neighbors they were all musicians, so nobody really complained. But I figured it out. It took a while. It really did. And I went and put myself in really challenging positions. I'm sure you did too. You get
Oh,
around
yes.
guys who are just like, oh my God, they're so talented. What, I don't deserve to be here. But I did. In the long run, you turn around and look back at everything you went through and the people you met and your heroes,
Right.
who your heroes were, and you think, wow, what a life. You know,
But and when you're out in LA, I'm assuming I said LA, but I'm
yeah,
assuming it was LA. So you were in LA, and what? I mean, of course, everybody around you, everybody who's playing, is there to play music, and at a level that, I mean, those were a lot of the great records were coming from. And I read,
70s,
yeah, I mean, you ended up playing with some of these people that were our heroes, right?
I got very lucky. I mean, I went from one job to the next to the next, and they were never the genre that I was studied,
Okay.
that I had studied. When we're young, we get a little bit cocky. Say, I'm an R&B drummer. That's what I play funk only. And my first big gig was with the Beach Boys. I had no idea how to play straight on the floor. I mean, oh my God, how am I going to do this?
So what happened?
Well, I was in the studio with Carl Wilson because I was really did a lot of studio work when I was young. And Carl was in Sound City one day in Studio B, and I was in Studio A. And I was with Jerry McGee, who was a great guitar player in those days. And Carl wanted to come in and said, would it be okay if I come in and meet this guitar player? And he came in, of course, we let him in. And I was playing drums, and before he left, of course, he was very, very kind to Jerry and very complimentary and very sweet guy. And then he said, "May I have your phone number?" So, who, me?
Nice.
And he called me, and we started recording at Brother Records for his various projects, and we hit it off very well. And he asked me to go to Holland, where they were recording the Holland album. And I was with Dobie Gray at the time. I don't know if you remember him, but I was very loyal. I said no, I can't because I'm on this tour with my friend Dobie. He had Drift Away at the time. Give me the beat, boys, to free my soul.
Oh
So it was
yeah,
a big
yeah, of
record, and we had
course.
a lot of work,
Yes.
and I
Great
said
song.
no. And I didn't realize, that album became one of the best recordings ever for Carl, for the Beach Boys. But a year later, he called me again. He said, "Are you available now?" I said, "Yes." You know,
Okay.
and that was it. We went on the road. We did about 4 tours together, some more recording. Uh, it's funny how those things happen. How these situations arise, and you either do the right thing or make a mistake, or you can't worry about the stuff you didn't do that you could have or should have, would have, right? So
Well
I
said.
was just lucky that one job came after the other, after the other, and they were in genres I had no idea how to play. And then the next one was Rick Nelson and the Stone Canyon Band. That was a great band, one of the nicest people I've ever met or worked with, Rick Nelson. And we recorded a bunch of stuff. And Rick actually came out in the studio and helped me learn how to play country grooves because I always swung everything, right?
Right.
Everything was James Gadson for me.
Right.
And
Right.
and the country music wasn't, it was straight ahead. And Rick came out one day and he was trying to tell me what he wanted. He said, I said, why don't you show me? I knew he could play. So he played the hi-hat part, a real straight hi-hat part. He said, no, you play what you're gonna play. Doom, boom. And he was playing da, 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 straight. So it sunk in after a while, and I got close to where he wanted it. A year and a half later, he said, Eddie, I wondered if you wouldn't mind quitting because Hello Mary Lou is starting to sound like a James Brown tune. So I said, absolutely, Rick, and
That's
we
funny.
parted on very good terms and remained friends until he passed. Uh,
That's funny.
but yeah,
Wow.
funny how those things work.
But
How
that's
you have to, when I
interesting.
showed up in LA, I said, I can't I have to learn every genre. I have to, if I want to pay the rent, you know, I'm gonna have to show up on time and be friendly and as kind and do the job. And I did, for the most part.
But that's nice that people had the patience to show you. But there was also a lot going on, right, at the time?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
There were tours and recordings, and after a couple of years, I had to have more than one drum set, and uh, it, just to keep up with the studio work.
Right.
And I said yes to everyone
Right.
because we had John Guerin in those days, and Jeff Picaro came up a little bit later, but he was once he came along, that there was him and everybody else, right?
Right. Right.
Even Vinny and all those cats, they all loved Jeff, and they
Right.
took a back seat.
Right. Right.
So I was in the trunk of that car, but I was in it. I was in the trunk. I was there. So yeah, a lot going on, a lot of opportunity, a lot of new things popping up, a lot of records, a lot of touring. Actually, I remember that the most.
Right.
And in between, I would play in a club.
Right.
You know, when I was with J.D. Souther on the Eagles tour and the Hotel California tour, which was amazing. It was 47 one-nighters or something, the best of the best. And on the Wednesday before, we were going, we were playing the first 4 nights with them was sold out at the Forum.
Wow.
So, but the night before that, there was a job at Hazel's Bar in Pasadena, which was a little blues dump. They paid $40.
Right.
I was there, and people were saying, "What are you doing, Eddie? You're going to be at the Forum the next 4 nights, and you're at this dump." I said, "This dump is going to be there when I finish that tour. They're not going to remember who I was. 3 weeks later, they're not Eddie. It's Eddie who."
Right.
They'll remember me as Hazel's, and I might need that $40. So I said
Right.
yes, and that taught me a lot of humility as well. You know,
Yeah.
you got
No,
to
that's
work
interesting
in
that
this profession. You can't be picky, and unless you're Vinny or Jeff, somebody like that.
but I think, ultimately it's not what you it's like what you do that's important is not who you are. I mean, we're very fortunate to be doing what we're doing and to
Yeah,
have that possibility. I mean, the fact that you can play in that little place if you want or not,
yeah,
and then go and do the forum, and all of these thousands and thousands of people, and then be able to go back. And for us, it's still music. The responsibility may be different, but not
yeah,
really because you're playing music with people who care, and for people who are listening, whatever level that they're listening at. You're
right.
making music and you're working at your craft and you're projecting and you're sharing and you're being part of this. And who knows in 10 years what you're going to be doing. And it's
Right.
just part of that journey, right?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it's really interesting. I remember getting back to Jeff. I remember going out to LA because I was studying with a lot of different people and different experiences. And I was in Los Angeles, meeting some friends who were out there because they had a huge hit, and I went to see them while I was there. Um, I went
Canadian band?
I can't remember what year that was, but I went to see Joe Porcaro for a lesson.
Oh yeah. Joe
Okay.
is a good friend. I talked to Steve yesterday, his son.
Okay. Nice. Nice. Uh, but it was really interesting because Joe was I mean, I knew him from the PASIC and all of that from PAS.
Uh,
And so I'm finally out there and and have a lesson with him. And then I spoke to Jeff, And I said, "Is it possible to come and just listen to a rehearsal because they're rehearsing Toto?" And he
Yeah.
says, "Well, let me get back to you. I'll let you know." And then he says, "No, the guys really don't want anybody in the room over at this point of the rehearsals." So that didn't work out. But then I went to many other rehearsals. It was yes, it's coming back to me. Who was it? Um, he used to work for Yamaha. Oh, he got.
Steve, uh,
Now remember, he got hit by a car between getting out when he's seeing Vinny. No, no, not Vinny. Carmine Appice. He went to see Carmine Appice. He was a really good friend.
Conrad's a
Here's,
friend of mine. Yeah.
but he went to see Carmine, and he was crossing the street, and he got hit by a car.
I was with him, Steve Edelstein.
Steve Adelson.
I was with him when he got hit.
Oh, are you serious?
He and I were watching Carmine at that
Okay.
bar,
Okay.
and we both left at the same time. And uh, I walked out to the corner. It was a bad corner there. It was a very bad corner. And he said, "I gotta go, Eddie." And he went to run across the street right in front of me.
Oh, ouch. I didn't know you were
Front of
with him.
me, yeah.
Okay, because I knew Steve very well. I
He
mean,
was a nice man and talented. Everybody loved him.
oh yeah,
It was a terrible loss.
oh yeah. No, when I was there, I went to eat at his house. We had dinner together, and he used to live next door to Dave Weckl, if I remember well. And I think his wife at the time actually joined us
Carol,
at that dinner. I don't remember her name. It's so long ago. But then I went to see other people in their rehearsals. There was
yeah.
Chick
Mhm.
Corea rehearsing. I forget who else I saw. Al Dimiola, and it was just he was taking me around or showing me or facilitating and telling me, "Oh, go check this out," that kind of thing. And the story about Steve Edelson. I mean, you know how great he was.
He really
And
was. He he cheered everyone on. He wasn't that guy that because he was on a very high level as a player too. You ever hear him play? I mean,
I did not. I did
So
not play.
yeah, I really respected him. Carol Collada was his
Exactly. Yeah.
roommate.
Carol and yeah, he and Carol used to live in LA. Yeah. I
Yeah,
remember that.
yeah. And I remember speaking to her because I have just happened to be we were at the bar together, just hanging, and decided to leave at the same time. But I couldn't really run across the street, and it was yeah, not a good memory.
No, no, no. And I sorry to bring that back.
That's all
And
right. That's all right.
for me,
Everyone
he
loves
was
Steve. It's good to talk about our friends.
yeah, yeah.
I do that on Facebook all the time. I put Ralph Humphrey, who was one of my closest friends. Every few months, I put him on my Facebook page. There's a lot of people go there, and everybody loved Ralph. And
Oh,
it's good to keep our friends in the limelight, so to speak, in
sure,
the
sure.
public's eye, where they can be appreciated forever.
Sure, sure. And yeah, I mean, I want to get back to Ralph afterwards because you knew him
Yeah,
well. But
yeah.
with Steve, I have to say this. Steve, when we began the whole COSA project, I had just met my wife, and I knew Steve for a long time. We'd run across each other in all these events.
Right.
And at one point, I said, when I was thinking about starting this whole COSA project, we had established it.
Mhm.
And then I went to him, and I was an established player, but not an organizer and all of those things. But I had this vision for a long time. I said, finally, I met Yolan. She was amazing. I said, now I'm ready to do this idea I have had.
Uh-huh.
And so we met at a trade show. I think it was at a PIS, maybe in Nashville or something.
Mhm.
And so Yolan and I went to him, and I said, Steve, your honest opinion. Here's what I'd like to do. Here's my idea. So, with his smile, he's listening. Remember how he would just smile, listen, and goes like this. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right. And I told him, what this course was going to be like, bring all people coming from all over the world to study with the top people in every discipline, total percussion, live for a week. You eat, sleep, and play all day, concerts in the evening. It was just massive, intensive with the
Yeah.
top experience. So he looked at me, he said, so I said, what do you think, Steve? He looked at me, he says, you are out of your mind. And then he said, he says, but if anybody could do it, would do it and pull it off, would be you. I said,
That's all
Steve,
you
that's
needed
all
to
I
hear.
need. That's all I need. but he said, be ready though, because people know you as a player, as you're endorser in this. Now you're going to be speaking to everybody in a different way, and you're going to be looked at and treated differently. And I said, no, I'm like Switzerland, and this has to work for everybody. And I'm like the ideal mind. I'm still there. I'm still naive, but it's okay. That's the way you get things done. Is you never mind those barriers or the frames that we tend to put together as humans, and for the best, for the good of all. That idea,
Yeah, yeah.
and then he said, okay. If anybody would be able to pull what you're talking about, it would be you. So, okay. I said, so you would support me and you'd back me up if somebody calls me crazy. You'd just whatever
Defend
you
you.
whatever you need, Aldo. And
Not
then
crazy, really.
yeah, and then from then on, he used to call Yolan and I when he would see us the two Aldos. so, so that became like that stuck, the two Aldos.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so he was one of the big, how should I say, um, when you kind of a mentor in the business
Or
world, because
instigator.
yeah, and he said the right thing, and every time he would be here in town, he would check in. He says, "How's that going?" He would check in. Let's have dinner. Let's have lunch. I want to hear what you're doing, and then he would always be there, right? He's the
Yeah.
guy.
I
Anyway,
remember he came to see me play at Le Café. It's a little jazz club. I lived in that building, actually. And we had a fusion band, and that was not my forte. Honest, I can play anything, but and it was a good band. It really was, and there was all original stuff, and we really rehearsed. It was pretty good. It was as good as I could be, And he was there. I think he was with Carol, and he was just sitting there. And when we were done, I walked over to him. I didn't want to say, "What do you think?" But I really wanted to know. And he just smiled and shook his head. I said, I'm in. That's it. I felt really good about that. His endorsement meant a lot to me,
yeah, yeah,
just who he was. I
yeah.
mean, not as a player or as a businessman, but just him. He was a serious man,
Sincere also.
sincere. Yeah, you never saw him really jumping up in the like the rest of
No,
us.
that's right. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, he was very calm. I don't think I saw him move more than that. That's it.
Right. Yeah, not an Italian.
No, he's definitely
No.
not. He's not. You know how to make an Italian keep quiet, right?
Take the tie his hands.
Tie his hands, yeah, or hold them together. Then
When
that
I was
does.
on the road with Rick Nelson, Dennis Larden, the guitar player, every Sunday, no matter where I was in the world, no matter who I was, from Australia, when I lived in Europe, wherever I was, I called my mom on Sunday, right?
Okay.
My mom got Danita DiMaggio, right? And I called her every Sunday just to tell her I loved her, no matter where I was.
Okay.
And Dennis used to make fun of me. He said, "Oh, you're always calling your mom." He says, one day he said, "By the way, how do you guys talk? The both of you are talking with your hands, are throwing the phone all over the room. How do you ever talk?" You know, and every time I see Dennis, and I've seen him recently, and he brings that up, and we laugh about it. But it's true. It's true, as I'm talking with my hands, you know.
You get that? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
Right.
what? Speaking of which, when you're, I mean, you're Italian. Where in Italy, though? Do you
Well,
know?
my mother was from Sicily. My
Sis-
father was Spanish. He was from
ah,
Valencia.
okay.
He grew up he grew up in Havana.
Oh,
Yeah, and went from
interesting.
Valencia to the Belardes to Mallorca, and then from Mallorca to Havana, and Havana to to New York.
New York, too much.
And
What
he
a
met my
mix.
mother's family from Italy in New York, and that's where they hit it off.
Nice, nice,
So, yeah, yeah, he was
beautiful.
a great guy. They were great parents. They were old-fashioned, old school. My dad played every instrument in the band. He could sit down at piano. He played violin. Who picks up a violin and can play it? You know, a
Wow.
banjo, guitar, drums, anything.
Nice, nice.
But he was an accountant. That's what he did for a living.
Wow, that's
But
incredible.
they were very supportive. My dad died when I was young. I had just turned 16. But I was at 9 years old, I started playing, and he was right there, you know, and they really got that that's what I wanted to do and that they should support that. My mom didn't all the way until her passing when I was like 30, 31 years old. She was right there. You know, she knew
Nice.
what I wanted to do. She knew I put a lot of time and effort and you know, you could see that in
Yeah.
people and so they were great.
Well, it's nice that they didn't dissuade you, that they made you,
No, not
they
at all.
supported you
Yeah.
to go in that direction.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
they got me what I needed, but they did it right. You know, I got a snare drum, and then my dad would take me to lessons. And my teacher was Al Gardella here where I live now, and my dad would get a report from him every. How did he do? Did he practice his lesson? And I did. I really did every day. You know, and my dad just kept being supportive right up
Nice.
until he passed. You know.
Nice.
Because I was, you know, at 16, I quit school. That really hurt them. They didn't want to see me. I said, well, I was playing 3 nights a week in a band. I just couldn't figure out what a paradiddle had to do with geography. Why do I need to know that? This is what I want to do. You
Yeah, that's interesting. But it's interesting how many Italians from southern Italy ended up creating the world music world from Toto to
yeah,
Chick Corea was from Catanzaro. I learned not too long ago,
the
and
Picaros are all from Hartford. They're from right up the street here.
right, right, wow,
Became good friends right away, all of them.
yeah,
Steve and I are the only ones. Steve's the only one left, but
yeah,
in fact, he told me yesterday he just finished his new album, so we could keep our eyes and ears out for that. Steve
nice,
Caro's solo album.
beautiful. Oh, this
I
should be
heard it.
interesting.
It's amazing.
Really, huh?
I heard the demos. I haven't heard the finished copy. You're supposed to send me one. I'll stay on this case about that.
Nice, nice.
Talk about a humble, studious, kind, very generous man. All
Yeah,
the Pacuros were like that.
yeah. There,
Joe was and Aileen, who is still with us, are big fans of the Rhythmic Arts Project. They were at
okay.
every show. They made donations. They were really kind all these years. Still are.
Yeah, and talking about that project,
Hmm.
I mean, you were playing all those years, and all of a sudden you had an experience. I'll say experience. You take it from there. That changed kind of your path.
I was a great fan of the ocean and I swam every day and I body surfed. I didn't board surf. I body surfed. And where I lived in Carpinteria, California, was a very smooth beach. They called it the safest beach in the world. Carpinteria has the safest beach. And I would agree, except this one day where I hit a seemingly angry wave, which didn't turn or it just wasn't a typical wave. It wasn't that big. It just slammed me into the bottom. I was 20 yards out
Wow.
drove in. It was the last wave of the day. I had a gig that night. I said goodbye to a few people, took the last wave, and I went bam. I heard a big crack and then nothing. I was 3 feet underwater and totally paralyzed. And it's a long spiritual story, but I, I, I didn't want to come back. I found this beautiful energy here where I was looking, floating towards, and I just didn't want to come back. And I knew to, in order to continue on this journey, I had to discard my body, which was still hanging on. I said, well, I'll have to drown. So I opened my mouth to let the water in so I
Okay.
could continue on this journey and they can discard the cage. And I was lifted from the bottom and placed gently at the shore where the paramedics with the lifeguard who with the most seniority was there. He put some, he said, are you okay? I said, I'm totally paralyzed. I was laughing. I couldn't believe I was still alive. You know,
Wow.
I was disappointed that I didn't get to go where I wanted to go. But he said, I said, no, I'm totally paralyzed. And I was laughing. And he thought, well, he thought I was delusional. I said, no, man, I'm all right. I'm cool. I'm totally paralyzed. So they put surfboards up. The paramedics with the most seniority showed up. They handled me perfectly from the shore to the ambulance. When they rolled me into the hospital, the number one neurosurgeon, Dr. Connor, Scott Connor, happened to be there. I said, I'll take this guy on a Saturday. What was he doing there even?
Wow.
So we went in and we did an MRI, and he said, uh, your neck is broken badly, and the sixth vertebra is totally herniated and is pressing against your spinal cord. That's why you're paralyzed from the neck down. Nothing. I said, oh, okay. So what do we do? He says, well, we have to operate. I said, what, like in a week? He said, no, now, Eddie, come on. And we were laughing and joking, believe it or not. And
Interesting.
I said,
Wow.
okay, well, let's do it, you know. And the next thing you know, they have me in the OR. And and I remember the nurse was Marie, and there was the anesthesiologist looked like this bass player I knew in Toronto when I lived in Toronto, right? And he was really good. His name was Mike. I can't think of his last name. But as he was coming at me, I said, "Wait a minute." You know, I said, "You remind me very much of a bass player that I used to work with. He was fantastic." I said, "I hope you're at least as good as he was." And he laughed, and I laughed, and he went backwards from 100. Yeah. And I
Right.
woke up 6.5 hours later, in the ICU, totally paralyzed from the neck down, nothing. They said I would never walk, never have any normal bodily functions. You know, 3 years later, I was doing gigs, you know, less than 3 years. But this program was born out of my stay in the hospital. Uh, I was totally paralyzed from the neck down. They didn't give me any hope. They said, "We're
Okay.
sorry, Eddie. We're gonna teach you how you can live in a wheelchair."
Wow.
And I kept saying, it didn't bother me. I knew that's what uh, the medical reports told them. You
Right.
know, so and they were really nice. It was a beautiful place to be for me and other people like me. And so I wasn't mad. I just said, I thank you so much. I mean, you guys are wonderful, but you're wrong. You're all wrong. I'm going to walk out of here. And they were like, and they sent the psychiatrist in, and this is, now the lady, anyway, I was going to, they finally got me out of bed into a wheelchair, to make a long story short, where I could move some body parts. And they took me down to therapy, and Vika Muhlenkamp, her name was. I love her. I still love her. We're friends today. My physical therapist.
Wow.
She, I sat in the wheelchair, and she was sitting on a stool, and she said, ranging my feet to see if my feet would move this way, or this way. I said, you know, Vika, I appreciate what you're doing. I love you for what you're doing, but I'm gonna be fine. And she would go, oh no, I could see it in her eyes because we became friends. We're friends today, you know. And she said, okay, Eddie, you know. And one day we're in the gym there where she's ranging my feet, and there's the parallel bars are just there, just down, just a
Right.
few feet away. I said, and I'm telling her I'm going to be fine. She said, okay, Eddie. I said, look, push me over there to the parallel bars. You go down the other end, and I'll stay at this end, and I'll walk down and meet you, and then you can believe me. So I could see her like, I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to let him fall because they've already discussed this in the rounds every day. He's not
Yeah.
getting it. Nothing we tell him, he keeps saying he's going to walk out, and we can't help him. So she must have thought, I'm going to let him
Sure.
trip. I don't know what else to do. Then we can get him on the right foot, you know, to the rest of his life in a wheelchair. So she rolls me over there, and I could stand up. I knew that I was doing it on my own. So I stood up, and then I put my hands on the parallel bars. She go down the other end. She went down the other end, and I took 2 steps. I didn't know I could. I hadn't done it yet, but I
Oh, you
knew
hadn't
I
done it.
thought I
Okay.
could.
Okay.
I took 2 steps, and I was like, oh, and she starts bawling. And she runs up to hug me, and I hugged her, and we were just bawling in each other's arms. And I said, okay, Vika, from now on, no more looking at my feet. Teach me how to walk. Because after a few months, I had forgotten. My legs were just like baby's legs. You know,
Right.
you ever see a kid walking, his mom is dragging him, and his legs are all over the place. That's what I was like. So, you know, you have to learn how far apart your gait is, that it's heel to toe, you know, how the balance, and you're moving your shoulders one way and your hips the other. While you're walking, it's kind of an exaggerated John Wayne, you know, that big walk he had. And I
Right.
had one therapist moving my shoulders and another one moving my hips in the right direction. And I had a cane, and I said, "That's it from now on. Just teach me how to walk so I can get the hell out of here." Right? And to this day, I mean, we did an interview recently last year, I think, and Vika came in, and the woman asked her, "Well, how is it that was able to walk when you all thought he wouldn't?" She said, "I don't know. We looked at the medical reports every single day. There was no way this man was ever going to walk again or have any normal bodily functions, and we don't know." So the lady said, "Well, maybe it was a miracle." And they said, "We don't say miracle in the hospital."
Right. Right. Right.
I
But
told Dr. Sander, the head of the hospital, I said, I don't care what you say. I'm walking out of here." And I did. 6 weeks. Oh, it was about 2 months with the ICU, the whole thing.
interesting. Interesting. So
Yeah.
was that? I mean, to you, was that an act of will?
It was about God.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
you know, I'm I'm not that guy on the top of the hill preaching about anything, you know. I just know what happened to me. I know who lifted me from the bottom. There was nobody there.
There was nobody there. Yeah, I know you didn't say that, but I'm
Yeah.
saying, okay, who? That's really interesting because we all have these kinds of experiences that there's something missing here, or that's like, why would that happen? I mean, I personally do not believe in coincidences per se. So things happen for a reason. Things are thrown at you, and you make decisions, right? Like that's why I call this podcast "Shaping Your Journey" because you will come across decisions you have to make. Either they're, you know, in your case, it's a like a threatening situation, or you say, should I go to that school or that school? Should I take that gig
Right.
or that gig? I mean, whatever it is, a situation presents itself, and you make that decision. And there's also this other thing about why things line up a certain way, like the doctor being there on the Saturday, which usually impossible.
All the people with the most seniority, the lifeguard, the paramedics, the doctor, the hospital, all of it lined up as it was all divinely guided. I'm not that guy, preaching about this, and I don't mind talking about it at all. And at first I thought I can't start telling stories that people will think I'm nuts.
Of course, yeah,
And
yeah,
so, and
yeah,
then after a while, like I talked to Dr. Connor, the number one neurosurgeon on the Central Coast. He saw me walk in his office. He started laughing and he hugged me. And he was like, "Oh my God, Eddie." He didn't think I'd ever walk. He was also the one of them. And then he said, "Wait a minute," and he sit there, and when he walked over and he had my X-rays on him, and he put the X-rays up, and he went, and I was starting to ask him questions. Why is it when I hit my head, my elbow, because I was your nerves are all trying to reanimate, right?
right, right.
And he said, "I don't know. That's not what I do. But look at this." I said, "Look at what?" He says, "Look at how I fused your neck together." So this is beautiful. It's it sure is, Doc. I mean, look at me. I walked in here. He said, "I know." He said, "I can't believe it."
Wow.
So I talked to him about what happened, and I said, "It's really hard. I don't want to be telling this story to people." He said, "Hey, I have to tell you." I said, "People are saying, no, you were brought in by a wave or this or that." He said, "Eddie, the way your neck was broken, the way the vertebra was pressed against your spinal cord, why it didn't split it, we have no idea. But had
Wow.
you been brought in by a wave or any sort of motion at all, this much, you'd have been dead. So what you're telling me is your truth. And
Right,
it's the truth as far as I'm concerned, because you shouldn't be here."
right. It's
That
interesting.
validated me from the highest level of human capabilities in that field
Right,
to my belief in what happened was truly a God given miracle to me. And it
yeah,
was. I
yeah,
mean, it just was. And it, it doesn't matter to me what anyone else thinks.
yeah, yeah,
I'm not making up stories to glorify the
yeah,
moment or anything. It's just happened.
yeah.
That's what happened.
Beautiful. Yeah, no, and there are no coincidence. Going beyond the no
Yeah, you said
coincidences.
that. Yeah.
Those are the like the natural things we know. There's no coincidence. Things like cross paths in this form and how they do. Why? And
Mhm.
why that happened, the other didn't. I mean, I could tell you stories. I mean, I'd be on a tour. I was supposed to take a flight back from Greece to Italy, where I was meeting up my parents because I brought them there for a few weeks
Oh,
during
okay.
my tour. I said I'll come back and pick you up because my mother didn't want to travel with my father by himself. He's a little older and he had just had a heart thing. So
I,
I said, I'll take you there and I'll drive you down around a little bit. And then I'll come back and pick you up. And the guys leave. I'll leave the tour and come back here first. Anyway, on the flight going back to Rome, something happened and I missed my flight. I never miss a flight. I never. Anyway,
yeah,
that
me
flight
neither.
that
Yeah,
flight didn't make it. you know.
yeah.
I mean,
Well,
we all have these kinds of stories, and you say, well, that's interesting. You know, the normal stuff didn't happen, or things that normally would take place didn't, and it's not your habit, right? So there is I mean, one has to believe that there's something else going on that we have no control over, and there's a reason for it,
yeah.
whatever that is.
I believe it, and
Yeah,
I don't expect anyone else to. I don't tell people they should believe this or that or the other.
yeah, yeah,
I just have my truth.
yeah. That's
And I
interesting.
live by it. I
And
pray every day. I
and
feel good about it. I don't care what anybody says.
and that's great. And I think it's a lot more interesting that way. When people make it their mission, then it becomes too much. You know, not everyone can handle it, but people want to explore it. There it is. There's the information, like anything else.
Also, this Rhythmic Arts Project
I
started
was going to
in the
ask you about
rehab.
that.
So uh, I was totally paralyzed, but little by little, I started coming back. So from this hand, I could move this hand, the first thing. And as soon as that happened, I asked my friend Greg Leroy to bring me some drumsticks and a couple of percussion items because I had this hand.
Right.
So he brought me some maracas, uh, egg shakers, drumsticks, and a cowbell. Don't ever bring a cowbell to the hospital. We took it away from the first patient that had it. But from the side of my bed with a drumstick, a little railing on the bed, right? I was playing. That. I said, yeah, I still got it. I'm just a hand because I was totally paralyzed otherwise, but I was doing that. And Oscar, the guy who was waiting on us in the ward, in the spinal cord ward,
Right.
uh, I said, can you just do that on my food tray? Which he did. He went and I was going just the two of us. So the guy next to me was in worse shape than me. He said, "Hey, I want to play." And Edith, who's 70 something years old, rolls in a wheelchair. I want to play. She takes the cowbell, right?
Okay.
So I said, see if you could just play 1 and 2 and 1 with the cowbell, right? She couldn't, she didn't get it. Ted, the guy next to me, he died a few days later. He was in bad shape. Great guy, brave. He was one of my heroes. I can do that, he said. And the guy said, I don't know, Eddie, should we do? I just put it on his chest. He has one hand. See if he can do it. He played it perfectly. So
Wow.
now we have that 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 that, and he's doing 1 and 2 on a cowbell.
Nice. Nice. Okay.
Now Edith said, "Well, I still want to play it." I said, "Just clap to 4." It was an ensemble
Right. Right.
by such incapacitated people you've never seen play an instrument or be in a percussion ensemble and play it perfectly. The nurses and doctors were coming by, they started dancing, the people were laughing, and the light went on, you know. So I called everybody I knew in the business and I asked for percussion items. Well, to this day, the hospital still, 30 years later, they're still stuffed with congas and djembes and maracas and cabasas, you name it. They had the closets full of it. And when they got me into a wheelchair, I went down to the mat room. I had about 10 or 12 people with a plethora of diagnoses. Some people were worse off. There's some people like me, some people with dementia, some people with cancers, and
Right.
you name it. Everyone was really challenged. And we passed out instruments to everybody, and I started doing. I don't know how to do a drum circle. That's not what we do. It's not what we ever aspire to, players usually. So I didn't know what to do but think of ensemble parts that they
Sure.
could play
Of course. Of
and,
course.
and make 8 or 10 people sound like a
Together.
section of.
Yeah.
But these are people that are like me. It was like a miracle. Honest to God. And then my friend Greg came in, he brought my drum set in. By this time, I was sitting up in the wheelchair. I could play a bass drum. I didn't have a left hand yet, but I could play boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, bop, boom. And then we had other people playing along. Everybody had different parts to play. They learned their parts. And then when I got out of the hospital, make a long story short, I started taking drums to other facilities where there were people with disabilities.
Okay.
I didn't know what I was going to do exactly, but I went to work in Pasadena where there were 27 children with every kind of disability you could. I never heard of most of them. I never worked with anybody with Down syndrome or autism or Fragile X or you name it. So I had a couple of congas, and I went and I started. I talked to Ralph Humphrey actually about it. I had all these ideas, and I was writing the book. I said, how should I, what do I base this on? He says, well, what have you got there? And I show him a couple of quarter notes and accents and stuff. He said, the quarter notes should be the basis of your methodology. That's all he said. And I wrote 110 pages about the
Nice.
quarter note
Oh,
and
he was
how
a
it
brilliant
morphs
guy.
into different things.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the way we learned how to count, our teacher wrote 1, 2, 3, 4 on the blackboard. And you and I followed on our yellow line paper, went 1, 2, and that's how we learned how to count and make our numbers. People with Down syndrome or other disabilities don't grasp conventional scholastics as readily as we did. So I drew a quarter note. I didn't have the book yet. I drew a quarter note on the blackboard. And I said, who wants to learn how to count? Like I did. And they all said, oh, yeah, yeah. So I said, well, this is a quarter note. It's worth one beat. And I had a djembe, right? And I showed them, you know, this is a djembe and this is one beat. So then I drew, and they all said one beat. Then I drew 4 quarter notes and labeled them 1, 2, 3, 4. And I brought this young man, Dion, up and had him. I said, well, can you play that on the drum? And he went, I said, but count as you're
Oh,
playing.
do me a favor. Turn your
Is this,
yeah, the sound
uh,
on. Yeah.
is that better?
Oh no, for because this is for speaking. When you're playing any instrument, it'll cut it off. Now play. No, you need the original sound on. Do you have that control on the top right-hand corner of your screen?
Oh, yeah, it says okay.
Yeah, original sound on should be.
Sign in, recording, sign in, view. Then it says okay.
Oh, okay. No, because we're not going to hear the drum otherwise.
Right.
We
Yeah.
hear the speaking,
Well, you
but
can imagine,
yeah,
he's playing the drum. You can see my hand, right?
right.
1,
Yes.
2, 3, 4. So if you look at this, the way the book is written, I'll just fast forward because it's a long story. This is the book.
Okay. Rhythm Arts Project, Traps.
Yeah. And then the first lesson in the book, 1, 2, 3, 4. But if you look at the methodology, it's visual. You see it. It's tactile. When you hit the drum, you're actually feeling the lesson. 1, 2, 3, 4. Visual, tactile.
Okay.
It's auditory because it's a drum. You hear it.
Right.
Visual, tactile, auditory, and you combine with speech. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, this morphs into over 100 pages of stuff that just gets, like here, we get towards the end of the book, they'd have to say, what shape is that? It's an octagon. How many
Right.
angles in an octagon? 8. So
8.
it's worth 8 beats. What's the sign for green? Because I teach basic sign language so that the kids talking with their hands would understand what other kids were doing.
Okay. Okay.
So, so that's green. It's an octagon. It's worth 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is a star. It's purple. It has 5 points, but it has 10 angles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the whole methodology is based on that. And we get into some musical notation, so they have to try and understand that. After the first part of the book, there's rudiments and stuff like this where they have to play it and read it out loud. And these are people that you thought would never say anything, let alone play one and two and three and four and. So, this is 30 years of work. And we're working now to create more curriculum. I just wrote a curriculum for the aging. We're doing our first presentation in New York Wednesday, where we'll go there. And I'm not doing it exactly the same way I teach children with disabilities or folks with disabilities. I'll make it more fun for the elders. I don't teach the kids, for instance, drum techniques, hand techniques, anything like that.
Right, right.
But here we'll show them a couple of techniques so they can have fun with the drum. And then we'll do a little bit of Tai Chi and deep breathing, just a little. Stuff that I do myself every day before I do anything, And then we'll start playing, and then I'll give them parts to play. I can do ensemble stuff with them because they're like us. That maybe they're not drummers, but they'll comprehend everything. They're just
Okay.
older. Well, they're not older than us necessarily. Yeah, so
With no,
that's
but
this Wednesday. Everybody's excited about Pearl are my partners in this. They do all the manufacturing, import, export. They ship everything for me. They package things. If you look at my website and see the packages, you'll love it.
okay,
It's
okay,
traplearning.org.
right.
Traplearning.org. And there's 3 packages. There's all sorts of things you need in order to facilitate. And we're a train the trainer program, so we go places and teach them.
Okay.
I'll be in Fresno for a 3-day intensive training there. And when I leave, people will be able to they'll be able to do this on their own.
Right. And
Which
part of
makes
the, I
sense.
mean, the scope of this is for people with disabilities to be able to play. Like, so what is the purpose, for lack of a better word, purpose?
The purpose of this for people with developmental disabilities
Okay.
to learn how to listen, how to work in a group together, how to follow directions, and then how to have fun with this. I mean, we don't do drum circle facilitation, which is fun. I don't have anything against it. It's just not, this is a peer studied methodology.
Okay.
We're written in the annals of special education. So it's on a different level than a drum circle, but
Right. And you've been doing this for as long as I remember. I mean,
30 years,
it's, yeah,
almost September will be 30 years.
30 years.
I broke my neck on September 6th, 1997.
Wow.
Yeah,
COSA we started COSA 30 years ago.
yeah, I remember.
Wow.
Yeah. Weren't you taking groups to Cuba?
Oh yeah, we take groups to Cuba. We still do.
Oh,
Oh yeah. The only, I
oh,
mean,
I still want to go. When are you going again?
probably in January. I'll let you know.
Let me know. Yeah, that'd be great.
No, no, absolutely. We've been doing that for over 22 years. I mean, the camp, the workshops festival that we did in Vermont, the first one, the big one. Then
Yeah.
we added Cuba. Then we added China. We did for many, many years.
Oh,
Then Europe.
I'm in Thailand and uh, Africa and Spain.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And South America, we have a big program in South America based in Quito, Ecuador.
nice, nice.
10 years.
No, it's interesting, these programs. I mean, what we're doing is a training and also now cultural centric. When we go to Cuba, it's about Cuban music and working with the masters there. And all our projects, except now we do a new one in Italy, in Calabria, actually.
Oh, really?
It's a
When
one
did you do that
week.
one?
This one is in July normally, and it's a 1 week music cultural um, culinary experience. So it's
Oh,
about Eddie. You should really come to this one too.
I cook.
You
I'm
know,
not famous for anything but my red sauce and meatballs.
we also have cooking classes. You see,
Oh, in Italy?
of course. So
Yeah.
you come. This is about Calabria because we're
Okay.
a lot of people when they say Italy. Well, everybody thinks Rome, Venice, Florence, and I mean, the country is incredible.
I think Palermo.
Yes, but now we're talking about the South, right?
Right, right.
And I was born in Calabria, and I know it
Wow.
intimately. So now I'm saying, let's bring eyes to this part of the world and experience it. Of course, we'll play music. We're musicians
Yeah,
or artists, and it's an experience. So as we're playing, the tarantella, learning how that works, the drums that go with the tarantella, and then what do they eat? So we have a chef showing us or teaching us how to cook specific dishes, and then we'll go to see a concert. We'll go to the winery, olive oil, um, groves. How do they make the olive oil? That whole experience. So
a lot of
once,
walking, Elder.
not necessarily, no. Sometimes we go to archaeological sites,
Yeah, sure,
but
sure.
depending on the group, then we say, okay, this one could be a big one. This could be a smaller one because it's small groups. So we design it depending on the group that's with us. But it's all about the culture, the context. So that's a whole other thing, And I think context is important, like what
I
you're
just
doing.
changed my mind about Cuba.
I mean, I mean, you have
Yeah,
time for both, you
yeah,
know.
absolutely.
And what's really interesting is the commonalities. Of course, music is the universal language. Rhythm, of course, is like everyone on the planet. We're all the same tribe, basically. And then what's interesting is to see how things tie in. When you're in Cuba, how does that tie in? When you're talking about clave, for example, well, some people say, well, clave is a Cuban rhythm. Yeah, but it's look over here. Let me explain. And this would take 3 days if I started explaining. So
Where the clave came from?
yeah, about what clave is. I mean, I have the book Cuban Rhythms for Percussion and Drum Set, which
Right, right.
eventually I had to write because people were asking questions to the Cubans. Because when we were in Cuba, we do two different things. There's these study groups, and then we bring groups like orchestras, or choirs, big bands, whatever the group is, to perform interaction, that whole thing in collaboration, musical collaborations. When we're doing the study and they're asking questions to the masters, I'm facilitating and I speak Spanish fluently. So
Uh,
I explain, I try and explain what Changuito would say, what the Piloto would say, what, any of the guys would respond. But then I'm realizing that they're actually asking the wrong question because they can't answer what you think you're asking. So I had to get that around my head around that and say
your head around that, yeah.
and see and find a way to write a book that would be with the methodology that would make sense. And then I had to work with the Cuban masters to explain to us how we think. Never mind. It's not like they don't know, but we think the clave is just the Cuban the clave question. That the clave is a rhythm played in Cuban music. Well, clave is universal. I mean, it's in every music, from Western to African. I mean,
All rock and roll is a clave.
yeah, everything. But it's melody. It's
All
all
of it,
about melody. So
yeah.
then I'm rolling back, and I get people get confused, and I say, okay, think of it as oral structure, like an architecture, oral architecture. How do you form a melody? Well, there's tension and release. So there's what's putting this together. So when you're creating a melody, it's either a tension or tension release or release tension. So there's your three. The three is the tension, the two is the release, or vice versa. We think 3-2, 2-3. It's really the same thing, but it's the melody. So once you understand the melody, there's your clave. Without going into this for hours, which I could, and I have, and I break it down, and I try and make it clear that this is a concept that comes from. I mean, if you hear Beethoven, I did this whole project with Joachim Horsley, who's a pianist in Los Angeles, Beethoven in Havana. We did. He did a whole study. He came on our program and then launched a whole world of music that he's still touring, and we recorded his first album in Paris. And it was like classical music Cubanized, but it's really the clave is already there. So you're just changing the instrumentation, really,
Yeah.
and changing it up. So the only thing that may not have clave per se is Western contemporary music, Indian classical music, or Chinese opera traditional. Everything else is, whether it's jazz, Western, African, you name it, it is clave. So, but what happens in Cuba?
Second line in New Orleans is clave.
Absolutely, everything is clave.
I studied that for 40 years.
Yeah.
And then when I realized what I'm doing, it's just clave.
Absolutely, everything is clave, and that's the funny part.
Some variation of it.
Yeah, everything is a variation of it, and it's all based on the melody. So, but the only thing you have to understand is the binary and the ternary. Well, the ternary comes from Africa. This is the Afro-Cuban. The binary is European. That, like putting it in a basic sense, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And in Cuba, they're both there, And then so what they did with it, is the different lineages, because Cuba is not a homogeneous musically country, a country that's homogeneous musically. Therefore, all of these elements that came to them either from Africa, from Spain, from France, from different areas, were all in different parts of the island and coexisting without any communication for a long time, and lived on their own. So you have the son and you have the rumba, which is totally is like red and blue. They're different, but they coexist there. Now, what they did with that, they invented conga, the tumbadoras. They invented timbales. They invented bongo. These were absolutely invented in Cuba, and then in the different musics in the different areas, then they became what they developed, but in different places. The rumba is not the same thing as what you have as the conga francesa, conga that you have in the eastern part. I can go on and on, but that would really take time to understand in a logical manner. So when we say Cuban music, that's like saying the music of Africa. That's like saying European. Or European. German, Italian, French. Yes, the notes are similar, but the compositions at the times not the same. Mozart and Polish, Ravel, not the same, or Stravinsky, or these are different, but they all have clave in because of the melody, right? Anyway, but I wanted to ask you about this whole development of getting away because I don't want to take over the and give a whole
Oh, I
lesson on
love
this.
it.
I
I mean, this is making for a great interview because you're a big part of it. People want to hear what you have to. I want to hear it.
and there's so much, and I'm learning even more every day. But and I've been going to Cuba for the last 22 years. I mean, Cuba Ministry of Culture has accepted my book as a an official book in Cuba
Wow,
for the music schools, by the way,
bravo.
and that's nice. Only I didn't invent anything. Only the approach and the material that I presented in methodology,
Mhm.
and it's physical is there, and they obviously they respect what I've done over the years. So that's been nice. Similar to what you're doing, and it's very important work because you came from a place as a professional player, not even thinking about this, and all of a sudden you were given this. I'll call it opportunity to,
Oh yeah, it was definitely it was a way to live the rest of my life,
yeah, yeah,
and to give me the incentive and the enthusiasm I have today, the same as what I had 30 years ago. I'm going to Fresno, of all places, next week, doing a 3-day intensive training there. I'm training one of my West Coast trainers as well.
okay,
I can't wait to get there and do it. I've got a
right,
little bit different curriculum. I added to the curriculum and changed the
nice,
room around a little bit. I mean, I'm constantly thinking of new stuff to do.
beautiful.
Now we're doing with this. This is pretty much all academic. This year, one of the ladies I hired is amazing. Her name is Debbie Major. And Debbie uh, had the Rhythmic Arts Project in her own facility called uh, Xylophone about 12 years ago. And she brought it in and was very successful with it right up to the pandemic when
Right,
all of us lost those spaces. And
sure.
so now she's my partner. Well, she's my assistant, but she's more like a partner. She's just brilliant. She has two twin boys. They're 34 years old. They're both disabled. One has CP, the other, and they both have autism. They're amazing kids. She's the best mother. Some of these mothers who have children with disabilities, they're my heroes. And Debbie is like, and she's a soul singer in a funk band. That's what she does to make a living. She plays piano. She does everything like the rest of us. But and she's kind and sweet and really knowledgeable and a much better business person than me. My whole thing in business and Pearl, everybody would be up in arms, but my way of doing, people would say, well, how much is it? I'd say, well, it's this much, but if you don't have any money, we'll figure out, we'll have a bake sale. I don't want to take this from a child or a grown up.
Sure.
I don't want to take it away from somebody because you can't afford it. Let's
Yeah.
sell something. We'll pay for. We'll get it. We'll do it. You can't be in business like that for too long.
No, but
So
you
yeah,
have to have empathy. I mean, I'm the same. I mean, we would do I did crazy things. I won't go there, but
I
people said, "Are you
yeah,
out of your mind?" I says, "If we don't do it, it doesn't happen."
right,
Understood?
right. And
But it
those
happens.
people are.
Yeah.
I can't do that for large groups of people, obviously, but
No.
I had something I called the parent trap. So, say you're a parent and you and your wife have a young man with autism or with CP or with Down syndrome, whatever. I'll give you a couple of drums. I'll send you the book and I'll teach you on Zoom how to teach your son. So you'll have drums, you'll have the curriculum, and you'll have a teacher. And,
Nice.
a few times, 2 or 3 times, and you'll be on your own. You'll be able to have fun with it. It's better than you give the kid a drum and he just bangs on it all
No, no,
day.
no. Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's make it really account
Yeah.
for something learning, for something fun, for something that is meaningful.
That's right.
You know, so I can afford to do that once in a while, just give people stuff.
Sure.
When I do that now, I don't tell anybody else in my organ.
Well,
Yeah,
that's yeah. I know what you mean.
yeah,
But it's guilty until proven innocent. So
yeah,
and it's all good because it keeps the wheel moving. It keeps things going, and it keeps you interested also,
yeah,
because this is
yeah,
the kind of thing I know that you've been like your face. This is the face that you've shown, and being so passionate about something, and it's really interesting because I mean. It's not just the passion; it's that thing that makes you wake up in the morning and look forward to. For some, it's the next session, or the next gig, the next tour,
right. Well,
or
it was
or
that for me for years.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
those things change. They can change, may change, and also with wisdom, with change of life situations, it's something else. I mean, some things are just not as meaningful or as important today as they were maybe 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And that's okay. That's evolution, right? Personal evolution of one form or another, right?
I would be remiss if I didn't mention the musicians who have supported this all 30 years, the best of the best. And I get to play with everybody. Everyone, they all let me play. But I mean, I have friends. The last few years, I was slowing down a little bit, and so Vinny would come and play two drums with me, or Willie Ornelas, or Luis Conte. Every show for 30 years, Luis
Wow.
and
Nice.
Chris Trujillo, and a number of people showed up every show, every recording. I've got to play on a bunch of stuff with Luis just because he has such a big heart.
Yeah.
He and all the musicians that have been with Bill Champlin, Michael McDonald, uh, just a, a plethora of great, talented people who there's no ego. There's no. They're not there. They're there for the cause.
Yeah.
They're not there to be seen or to show off. They're there because it really matters to them what we're doing.
Yeah.
They come to classes, and they look at the videos and they know what they're doing. They know why they're there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I put big, giant, beautiful bands together. Lately, I've been using like 5 drummers, different percussionists, and Rick Geraci will come and play, and Chris Trujillo, and I've had Tony Brownagel and Vinny Colaiuta and Willie Ornelas for the mainstay. But Tristan Bowden has been there, and Burley Drummond, and just everybody has showed up. Danny Seraphine. I can't, the Reyes
Nice.
family, all of them. The old man never missed a show till recently. Well, now I'm too far away, but
Yeah.
you know, I love everybody who's done this all these years.
Yeah.
They've been so kind and giving and never asking for anything in return. They don't even want gas money. You know,
Mm.
I mean, it's a blessing. It's a blessing, and I thank God for them, for everything
But
they've
you're
done and they
you're
will
you're the
continue to do.
you're the reason. I mean, that you made this work and you made this happen. And people, when you're sincere and you know what you're doing and you're doing for the right reasons,
Mhm.
people who understand know how important it is.
Yeah,
It,
yeah,
and they'll be will everybody's there when needed be, because
yeah,
we know. I mean, drumming, music in general, brings people together. How it brings our mental level up and our happiness level up,
mhm,
and our raison d'être becomes real, and more pronounced. So that's good, and I have to applaud you for that. It's and like in shaping your journey, taking it this way and involving all those people, which is to me a natural thing because I mean, these people, like all of us, we're sensitive. We're not sensitive to these things, and our antennas are always sensitive and getting it. Um, and
I
we'll
have
step up
I
because
have a
we know.
friend, Marty Farah, just to interject about as soon as I got hurt, Everybody showed up. Vinny, all the rest, but Marty Farah was at every single show. And when no one else made it, he was there. And we'd set up 2 sets of drums and play all day. Never left my side. He's still that way.
Wow.
That's the heart. And but all of those guys are like that. I call Willie Ornelas, who lives in Mexico now, right? And I call him when I was starting to slow down a little bit. I have had cancer twice too. I have
Wow.
colon cancer now. They're watching it. And it's, before that it was throat cancer. And I'm still playing during all of this, but you know, Willie, I would call Willie up and say, listen, can you come and just sit behind me in case I fall off the stool? He said, yes. And get on a plane and fly to LA and then drive up to Santa Barbara. Who does that?
Right. Yeah.
Didn't ask for a dime, right? And he's
Nice.
done it for years. And there he is, when I'm playing, what he told me, we were doing the first Michael McDonald concert. And Champlin was saying, Eddie, you better get somebody to come and help you in case you fall off the stool or something. Finally, it bothered me enough, I called Willie, right? And man, I said, he says, who are you playing with? I said, well, the whole band, but Michael is doing it, right? So he said, yes, he'll be there. The next day he calls me, he says, you know what, Eddie? I'm bringing my poison darts.
What?
Hey, kid, what? What are you talking about, poison darts? He said, if you don't let me play, I'm going to kill you.
Nice, nice. Well,
He played, and he never stopped playing. He came for 5 years after that.
nice.
And we shared the drums throne. And Tony Brownagel, Marty Farah, I mean, Luis Conte, every show.
Yeah.
And Chris Trujillo. Do you know Chris?
No, I
He's an
don't.
LA guy. He was with Toto for a while.
Okay.
And lots of people. Maybe if you've seen or heard him. These are, in my estimation, they're spiritual giants. Every one of them. As crazy as we get, and all the stuff we go through, and things we say and did and will do, they are in God's conscious
Yep.
space. They are. They may be, all of us might be a little bit crazy, but when we're asked to pull together to
Yep.
make a difference, they're there.
Sure.
I don't have to beg anybody. I'm doing the show. Okay, when?
Nice, nice.
Thursday, they'll be there. They stop what they're doing, they show up. It's
Beautiful.
amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful.
It's so nice to see that kind of solidarity, and it's and also, I mean, you've built quite a network of friends and people
Yeah.
who see what you're doing and respect what you're doing. Beautiful.
Well, you're close enough now. If we do a show here, you're going to play percussion, right?
Well, let me know
I,
if they
I
let me
will.
in. If they let me through in the border, I won't, let's not go there. but yeah, no, I mean, but I didn't know you had just moved back to the East Coast, but
I'm
definitely stay
from
in
here.
touch
Yeah.
on that. Yeah,
I'm from Derby, Connecticut, which is just about 6 miles that way.
right. But I know that, I mean, we can go on and on about this, but it's really great to know about, and I wanted people to learn about, those who haven't heard about the Trap project. And I mean, you've been doing all this work for all this time, and you're unstoppable anyway. So that's good. So any little help we can give, that's fantastic. And
Yeah, there's ways to donate. I don't push that so much, but we really do need funding. And I work as much as I can, Bree, but now I've hired new people and we're reaching out to a lot of places in upstate New York and all through New England, up to New Hampshire, and we're working in Salem, Mass. We were in Martha's Vineyard. I flew down to Florida to open a place. I'm going to Fresno next week. So I'm still moving around, but we're concentrating on Orange County, Hudson Valley, up in New York, and in Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire,
And what's the website
Massachusetts.
for donations?
Sorry,
For donations, what's the website?
Trap Learning, one word, TRAPLEARNING, traplearning.org.
Okay.
Simple.
And on that site, they can also learn more about what this is all
And
about.
all about there's videos, and it's very comprehensive. We're changing it right now. We're adding to it and cleaning up some of the typos. You're always doing that, right?
Of course.
So, so we're in construction in a minute on, but right now, but you won't. Nobody will know this.
Okay.
It's just everything that we planned isn't all there yet, but it will be.
Right.
We have a wonderful guy. His name's Steve Armstrong. Steve was with the Pearl Drum Company.
I know Steve.
A
Yes.
boss there for years, and he just retired. And I went to Nashville for his retirement party. And I said, "You might be retiring from Pearl, but you're not retiring from Trap." He said, "No, no." So he's now our webmaster,
Nice.
and
Nice.
he's great. He's just great at it. So I
Beautiful.
love everybody at Pearl. They've been in our corner when nobody else would,
And
when
including
nobody else
Paul.
was there.
Yeah, when Paul was at Pearl, remember? No, he was Peisty.
I was with Pearl.
Yeah. Paul was. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All those years he was with Pearl.
That's right. Of course. What am I saying? Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, but I want to thank you.
Love that guy. I miss him.
Oh,
You
oh,
know, we talked every single week for like 2 years while he was going through that.
yeah.
And
No, that was a tough one. It was hard because, especially when you have such history, and we would talk
yeah,
on a regular basis also.
yeah.
And he never made it like it was no. It is what
Remember,
it
he
is.
bought a Porsche like 2 weeks before he passed, or 2 months before he passed away. He called me up and said, "Boy, I got a brand new red Porsche." I said, "What?" He says, and then I figured, he says, "Well, I never had a Porsche. I want a Porsche. I only got a few weeks, so I'm going to go have fun." And the kids took him out in it. And
Yeah.
he even had, he was alive all the way up until when he wasn't alive,
Yes.
right?
Oh,
He
yes.
lived every moment that he could.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No,
his wife is, I hear from her, I still hear from her. We're in touch from time to time. This will remind me to be more in touch.
Yeah.
I try to remember my friends. There's somebody like Paul you can never forget.
Yeah. No, he was a big part of our whole community also. I mean, he was
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
both in Canada and the States. I mean, that whole, yeah. I mean, there are no, in that regard, there are no, there are no lines. There's no,
Right.
yeah, which is
Paul
beautiful.
put together a tour for the Rhythmic Arts Project, starting in Montreal, all the way to the West Coast.
Right.
Almost every province, we had some sort of a presentation where we would call the people in the disability community, have
True.
them come in to Long and McQuaid's or somewhere, and we did
Right.
demonstrations. And Paul put that all together in Canada on his own.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. We even had the Lincolns play in Toronto.
Yes. I remember the Lincolns with
Yeah, that was tough to do.
Prakash, the bass player, right?
Cash, yeah.
Yes.
I love that band. The
Great
stuff I
band.
did in that band was the best playing for me. It was the best band. When you get in the right situation with the right people, and it never felt that good before or after. That was the band for me.
Yeah.
Prakash was the band leader. He was very strict, but he was really, really good. He knew what he was doing.
Yes. Yeah.
And Michael Fonfera and Danny Weiss were my idols since I was a kid. They're my age too, but they were, they were in a band called Rhinoceros. And when I was a kid, and man, I learned everything. There was a drummer named Billy Mundy. And Billy, while I was trying to play this, Billy Mundy was playing, just a pocket. And I went, oh, what the heck am I doing? You know. So yeah, when I got a chance to go, I played with Danny when we all moved to LA. I started playing with Danny a lot in the studios, and then we had a band together. The band we had together in Canada, he was also in the Lincolns. And then I moved back here, and Danny moved back, and we put a band together called Pockets that's basically still together now. Danny's back in Canada, and I had Chris Pinnick on guitar, and Bill Champlin and his wife Tamara, Tata Vega, Carl Graves from Canada, from uh, Wildflower. Remember that song, Wildflower? Skylark was the name of the
Oh
band.
yeah,
It was
yeah, yeah,
back in the
yeah.
70s, big hit in Canada. And then in the States, Carl was in that band. You know, yeah.
Yeah, great moments, great. I mean, yeah, I remember the Lincolns very well. But
Yeah.
anyway, I wanted to thank you. I mean, we can go on and on about all
Oh,
of
yeah,
this, but
right. I just realized how much
it's, I
we've been
mean,
talking.
these are great experiences. But this whole trap thing that you launched, founded, and I wish you much more success with this. I mean, this is going well. Well, it's one of those things
And
that are needed on the planet, and it's and people should pay attention because more and more. Whatever the situation is, I mean, there's room, and music is the great unifier, and drumming, especially, right?
it'd be great when we go to Italy if we could show this to somebody while we're there.
That would be interesting, actually.
Yeah,
That,
you could interpret. My Italian is very bad.
well, we have Italian lessons also. So
Right. Right. Mi
anyway,
español no es muy bueno, pero estoy tratando. You know,
yeah,
I tried, and I work in South America, so they make fun of me the way I talk, but people in California made fun of this accent, which is back. My accent's totally back, you know, but I'm happy about it.
nice, nice.
It would be
Well,
great to show this, and I thought about taking it to Havana more than once. It's expensive,
yeah, yeah.
you know,
Well,
to take the crew
yeah,
down there.
I'll give you some ideas about that. Um, yeah, I'll send you some ideas
Yeah,
about
okay.
those two things.
I would
Give
love to go to Italy. Just let me know what that entails, and
Yeah, no, I will definitely tell you because I think this is something that could be interesting for a lot of places because this uh, this situation is not just unique to North America.
oh no, we're in a lot of places. We're
Yeah.
in several places, but we could be in a lot more,
Sure, sure.
a
And
lot
there's a
more.
lot of room to grow and surely a lot more need for it. So,
Yeah,
and you're the
yeah.
guy for sure.
Well, let's just keep talking about that.
Absolutely. And but
Make
in
you a team trap.
yeah, team trap.
Yeah,
Yes. And
yeah.
that would be great. But I want to thank you for taking the time to do this. We've been
Oh man, I wanted to talk to you for years, so this is great, man. I
yay.
was tickled that you asked me. I'm very honored, and I'm grateful. Thank you.
No, thank you, and thank you for doing this. And as I always say, to be continued.